This is Education Without Borders. Welcome. Today we want to have a discussion about little things about nature that can make our lives either comfortable or uncomfortable. What am I talking about? I'll give this lesson using real life examples. If you go to a hotel or any accommodation, normally the first place that you check for the quality of that facility is the washrooms and the bathroom. Similarly, if you go to any new place, the first thing you do is to set up a facility that will help you become comfortable while there. If you start a construction site, the contractor is always asked to also quote for toilets for the workers and also for visitors and guests who will visit that site. Similarly, when you start building a house or renovating a house, normally the first thing you think about are the washrooms. You'd want to have comfortable washrooms. Let's sit back and ask ourselves, why are these little facilities in a building or in a house very important? They are very important because it is in these spaces that you test the human dignity. The human dignity is tested in how comfortable a facility like that one is. If you travel abroad, if you go to any airport, when you alight, normally very close to the exit are washrooms. If you go to any new building, the first thing you'll find signs or washrooms, and for gents and for ladies. Let's look back and roll back maybe 50 years ago when some of us were growing up. How are these facilities? I may not be very wrong to state that maybe they were not given a lot of attention. But these days, with modern lifestyle, that facility has been given a very high preeminence. In fact, you may find that it holds a very significant part of the cost of the building. So washrooms, therefore, with that background, I will not be wrong to state that a washroom is very important to a human being. And it doesn't matter which class of a human being you are. Washroom is a very important facility because it dictates whether or not you'll be comfortable in that area or not. When your guests come, the first thing you show them is the geography of this place. If you want to relieve yourselves, these are the spaces. So time has come when we need to also pay a little attention to these small facilities. Small facilities that dictate whether or not we shall be comfortable. Normally in many cultures, during a festive month, like the month of December, the end of the year, many families, many people travel to their rural homes from urban areas to rural areas. And I still want to state that it doesn't matter whether you are in an urban area or in a rural area. Still, washrooms, latrines, facilities can make or break your stay at that particular place. You can actually cut short your stay in a place because of the state of the washrooms. Let me look from a perspective, an engineering perspective. If you look at most of the washrooms in rural areas, they are pit latrine, the traditional pit latrine. The pit latrine concept was brought by our colonial masters in order to improve hygiene and reduce causes of disease, health-related issues. And therefore, a pit latrine is a very important structure in any homestead. As Civilization has continued. Waterborne lavatories or latrines or washrooms have come into place. In fact, that's where the word washroom comes in, because that's where you go wash your hands, you can look at yourself, you can comb your hair within that space. Therefore, it's very important. It gives you confidence. When a washroom is comfortable, then you're also comfortable. But recently, I traveled up country, and on a major highway, I remembered there used to be a place, a very nice place, that used to be a stopover for travelers to stop and buy one or two things. There was a little shop, and also visit the washroom. A few months later, or a year or two later, I decided to travel along that road, because I remember that was a very comfortable place and very innovative, very welcoming, very refreshing. You could stop there, buy things. There was a little shop, buy milk, buy, milk products to take to your family, and also relieve yourself, wash your hands. And in fact, you could even have a little picnic, because it has a beautiful scenery overlooking a beautiful green forest. Unfortunately, when I visited, I found that that structure had collapsed. And it had not collapsed the typical way that we know buildings collapse. When you hear of a building collapse, you imagine it is, there's no roof, there's rubble and everything. But this particular structure's collapse was unique, because it had actually sunk. It had sunk, the roof was intact, the walls were intact. In fact, the slab was intact. Then from my investigation, from a learner's point of view, a learner who has learned the laws of nature, the laws of physics, that action and reaction are equal and opposite, I investigated and found that the water that used to be, drained away from the washhand basin was being drained into the pit latrine. Pause for a moment. You wash your hands, and then that water cleanly goes into the pit latrine. And this pit latrine is built on very deep red soil. Let's pause there, because we need to start on the next session of understanding why did this beautiful structure sink as a whole body. This is Education Without Borders. Listen to the next stage, why it sank as a whole body. We want to learn about a structure, a lavatory or a toilet, a pit latrine. Why would a pit latrine fail like that? Whenever you put up a pit latrine, and especially if it's very well done with the washhand basin and water, make sure that you don't let the water go into the pit latrine, because this is what you end up with. You end up with a situation as shown, which is a pity, because this used to be a very nice ablution block. Now see what has happened. This is Education Without Borders. Pay attention to the geotechnical aspects. Even a pit latrine can fail as shown. So as we design, make sure you already design for where the water will go. So if you look at this structure, it was done very well, but on the side of the toilet, that's where it has collapsed as shown, because the water went and it liquefied the red soil. We are on a red soil area, and that is why a structure behaves like this. This structure sank as a whole body because it was constructed on a ground that had very deep red soil. What red soil does when it soaks water is that it changes its nature. It gets denatured. It actually liquefies and collapses. So if you had put a structure on top and it was supposed to be on top of a pit, a very deep pit, which is a void, but it had overspanned the sides. The sides have now been waterlogged, they have collapsed, and therefore it is not the structure that has collapsed. It is actually the ground that has collapsed. We have learned two things: that when you talk about building collapsing, there are two aspects to it. One, there is the structure itself, where there is the roof, there are the walls, there is the slab on the ground. That is the first part of this whole project. The next and most important is the ground itself. The ground itself and the study of how ground responds to the laws of nature or to the forces that are superimposed upon it is what is referred to as geotechnical engineering. I hope with this lesson you have now learned the importance of consulting a geotechnical engineer to help you understand how will the ground respond to the weight that you put on it. If this structure was put on a ground that was predominantly marram or rock, it would not have collapsed because the rock will not denature due to water. Marram will also not denature the same way red soil denatures. So next time you visit a beautiful facility of a pit latrine which has been built together with a bathroom, make sure you consult your fundi, you consult your worker, that they must create a drainage away from the pit. Red soil pits were not designed for water to be drained into. It will cause collapse of the building. And this will make your stay wherever you go most uncomfortable. Just a little diversion, any water from washout basins or from the bathroom that is next has to be drained away. Keep the pit latrine intact. The pit latrines which stay intact, especially in predominantly red soil foundations, are the ones which don't have any water drained into them. There are even many people these days who say, I don't need a septic tank or a soak pit. I'll just drain my kitchen water into the pit latrine. The next thing you'll find is that your pit latrine will collapse. It will not serve the purpose it was meant for, and it will make your stay there most uncomfortable. I hope you have learned how to design, how to maintain a pit latrine built together with waterborne facilities, that is kitchen, washout basins, and bathrooms. Separate any water from the pit latrine, and it will serve you for many, many, many years. This is Education Without Borders. Keep watching, keep learning. We shall be back.